Hi friends, we are contemplating on Sri Aurobindo's wonderful statement, all life is yoga. Eating can become conscious, speaking can become conscious, working can become conscious, thinking can become conscious, even silence can become conscious. Life becomes the practice. Let me suggest a very simple practice inspired by this vision. For 1 week, choose one ordinary activity. Perhaps drinking your morning tea, perhaps traveling to work, perhaps speaking with your spouse, perhaps working at your desk, perhaps walking. Do not try to make it extraordinary. Simply become completely conscious while doing it. Notice, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What is motivating me? Am I reacting or responding? Can I bring sincerity into this moment? And at the end of the day, ask yourself one question: what did life teach me about myself today? Do this sincerely, and something begins to change. You begin to discover that spiritual practice does not have to be separated from living. Perhaps this is the simplest way to understand Sri Aurobindo. Most of us live largely through habits. We think according to old patterns. We react according to old patterns. We desire according to old patterns. We repeat yesterday inside today. Sri Aurobindo invites us to become conscious participants in our own evolution. Instead of merely asking what is happening to me, we begin asking what is evolving in me. Instead of why am I suffering, we ask what is this suffering asking me to discover. Instead of how can I escape life, we ask how can I transform the way I live. And instead of where is God, we begin to ask how can I become conscious of the divine presence in this very moment. Sri Aurobindo's message is ultimately a message of hope, not the superficial hope that everything will become easy, but a much deeper hope that human beings can grow, that consciousness can evolve, that the limitations of our present nature are not necessarily our final destiny, that the human story is unfinished, and that each one of us can participate in its next chapter. This makes everyday life sacred, not because every experience is pleasant, but because every experience can potentially become part of our evolution. So, the next time you sit quietly in meditation, you may be doing yoga, but when you get up from meditation and enter the world, yoga has not ended. When someone challenges your patience, yoga continues. When you perform your work with sincerity, yoga continues. When you discover an old fear within yourself, yoga continues. When you forgive, yoga continues. When you love without possessing, yoga continues. When you become aware of your thoughts, yoga continues. When you choose consciousness instead of unconscious reaction, yoga continues. And perhaps this is the great invitation of Sri Aurobindo. Do not divide your life into the sacred and the ordinary. Do not imagine that the divine is present only in temples. Meditation halls or moments of silence, look again at your life, look at your relationships, look at your work, look at your struggles, look at your joys, look at your own consciousness. Perhaps the whole of life is already participating in a great evolutionary movement. Perhaps yoga is simply the moment when we become conscious of it. Sri Aurobindo gives us a magnificent vision. Life is not merely something that happens to us. Life is an opportunity for consciousness to awaken, and therefore, all life is yoga. Perhaps the question is no longer when will my spiritual life begin? Perhaps it has already begun. Perhaps this moment is the yoga. This relationship is the yoga. This challenge is the yoga. This breath is the yoga. This life is the yoga. And the real question is, how consciously will I live it? Thank you so much.